They're boys, they see, they feel, they watch. They watch their friends ride little go-peds, and they watch their friends talk about riding a motorcycle, and they listen to it, and they say, Dad, will you do that? Well, you got to have access to do it. It's kind of hard to teach somebody over the phone something.
I definitely needed a father. I never had a father, never had a bigger brother. And it's pretty tough. I think kids need a father. They definitely need a role model, some type of a male.
Of course, we'd have figured, well, while he's here, let's serve him with the papers. And I wanted to tell him that this was going to happen. My gut instinct told me that this is what I needed to do, and I asked my attorney about it, and she advised me very strongly not to tell him. So going against my better judgment, I didn't tell him, and when he got the papers, he took off.
It's very painful. With no pictures, you know, nothing like that. So it was pretty shocking. Especially my older one, he was 10, and I didn't see him until he was 14.
My mother always used to make us tell her attorney that she was abused by her husband, which was my dad, and which was never true. A bunch of stuff that just to make him look like he was just a bad guy. My mother always used to tell me, you know, I got in trouble if I made a certain look. There you go, you're looking like your father. You made that same facial look. That's what he looks like when he's mad. And it'd be stuff like that that she would do to me, and then I would make me feel ugly. Sure, it'd make me feel, you know, well, maybe I am a bad person too.
Parents have no idea what changes are going to happen in their lives, in their children's lives when they divorce. And the minute that you divorce, parenting changes, and your child is affected by this.
She very often says, I miss Daddy, and just suddenly bursts into tears and wants him there, but knows that's not going to happen. You know, we call him, or, you know, I reassure her that, you know, I know you miss him, and I know you love him, and I know he loves you. And it's very, very hard to say those words in the beginning of a separation and divorce, but the more often you say them, the more true they become.
To be honest with you, I haven't talked to my mother, it's probably going to be like 7-8 years now. It actually backfired on her. Now she's the bad guy. In reality, she is the bad, I hate to say it, but she is. I think it's very evil in what she did when I was younger. And she did it to my two sisters, and we all feel the same way. None of us talked to her, you know, due to that. And so, be honest with you, she's not my mother. My dad is my dad now, and my stepmother is my mother. Definitely somebody who treats me, you know, like parents.
Thanks, Mom. I had a good time.
Oh, I did too.
Oh, and don't forget about my game this Thursday.
Oh, don't worry. You know I'll be there.
I love you.
I love you.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, Tina.
Hey, Joe. Hey, listen, I'm going to be taking Daniel this weekend.
No way. You already had Daniel. It's my turn. Why don't you be a little fair about it?
Don't be such a jerk, Joe. His favorite grandma's coming to town. You know you're going to end up getting a babysitter for him. and playing that stupid game of golf.
As a matter of fact, I do have plans, and it's not golf. You and your mother should plan ahead next time.
I'm taking them, Joe, and you're not saying anything more about it.
Why don't you ask a little nicer next time? Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, Tina.
Hi, Joe. I know this is short notice, but my mom called, and she's coming into town unexpectedly and would love to see Daniel.
Well, I had some plans to take him to my brother's this weekend for a barbecue, but I'm sure he'd rather see his grandmother. They don't get to see each other that often. How do you want to work it out?
We could swap some time some weekend.
That's fine. Just give me a call.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I understand. Hey, you. Did you have a good time?
Yeah,
What did you guys do?
we went riding in the desert and she ran into a cactus and saw a dead rattlesnake.
The parents who are most successful and who really do the most for mitigating the potentially negative effects of divorce on their children are those who are able to separate their own personal issues with each other from what's best for the children. And that isn't always easy to do.
Expedited Services is a program that offers parents an opportunity to deal with cases in a less adversarial environment. The courtroom can be very adversarial and actually make matters worse because it heightens the tensions. And hopefully through Expedited Services, individuals can come in a less confrontational environment and work through some of the issues and come to an agreement on many of the problems and things that they're dealing with.
It's very difficult, I think, not to become totally engulfed in your own problems and your own woes and your own worries about what's going to happen. So the parents who do the best job are the ones who are able to set that aside and to focus on what's best for their children.
And it really only takes one person to be unreasonable. As much as one might want to think that it takes two to fight. You only have to have one person be unreasonable. And I would have pushed it closer because the kids suffer, they dangle, they're not sure, and they really pay a price for not having the next step. People can't heal unless you've reached some closure, and you can't move on to the next part of your life until you've gotten there.
When children are living in an unstable situation where parents aren't communicating positively and openly and focusing on the child as most important, then the child isn't free to relax and do child things. They live under this cloud of what fight am I going to see tonight? Physical, verbal. What filth am I going to hear? Might we be yanked out of our apartment, running somewhere, hiding somewhere, so I'm not even going to eat. And then I come to school the next day and my teacher says, why didn't you do your spelling? Your spelling's not a very important thing, or your reading, or your social studies, or the fact that you can or cannot add. If last night, was turmoil. So if parents are really, once again, focusing on their children as the most important things, children are then free to do things that children are supposed to be out there doing. Laughing, growing in their own self-esteem, focusing on school. I'm learning. It's important to me to go tomorrow and learn. And I have been released to do that when I am not pulled into adult turmoil.
I hope he didn't forget. I want to show him the A I got on the report he helped me with. He's going to think it's so cool. When's he going to get here?
Well, he gets an F for not showing up on time. He never does show up on time. He's always late. You know you can't depend
give me a break,
on him.
Mom. It's not that bad. Maybe he had to stop for gas or got caught up at work or something. I hope he didn't get a flat tire. Last week he said he couldn't afford any tires because most of his paycheck goes to you.
Oh, give me a break. I am so sick of you defending him. It makes me sick.
Well, when I'm with you, I have to defend Dad. And when I'm with Dad, I have to defend you. I hate it. I hate being stuck in the middle all the time. I hope Dad didn't forget. I really want to show him the A I got on the report he helped me with.
He'll be here, don't worry. You know when he's late, he always has a good reason. Because you know he would never miss his time with his favorite daughter.
Mom, I'm his only daughter.
Quit looking at your watch. It's not going to make him get here any sooner.
I know, I just really want him to get here.
He'll be here. Be patient. Hey, have you talked to your dad about what you're doing this summer?
Well, Dad said something about camping, but I'd really rather go to the beach.
Oh, the beach sounds like fun. You thought about what beach you want to go to?
It's so very easy to bludgeon the other parent, I think, with the children, especially when you're feeling the welts of it yourself. Boy, I tell you, it takes everything you got not to.
As much as you might want to say things to your children about that other parent and how bad they are or how you don't like them, well, that's your feelings. You know, those are your feelings. Those are not your children's feelings. Your children do not see the other parent that way. They love them. That's all their bottom line. They love them. You cannot badmouth them. You cannot put your children in the middle by asking them to try to get information out of that other parent. Stop it.
I learned that if one parent can be committed to putting the child first, then the child can learn to grow up into a healthy adult who can love, trust, and make commitments. If one parent can make sure that the child feels listened to, that they belong and have a sense of belonging, and that they have your love, then even if the other parent is not cooperative, that child still will learn to grow up into a healthier adult.
One of the traps that parents can fall into when going through a divorce and when fighting over custody or visitation of the children is the idea that they get lost in the idea that it's best for the children to be with me as much time as possible.
When my ex and I first split, I really wanted the kids all the time. I felt that I would be less of a mother if I would allow them to be anywhere else but with me. And there's a stigma attached too, especially for mothers, to not have her children all the time.
You know, I guess I understand that there are reasons and there are times in which one parent ought to be denied access. You know, there's health reasons, there might be, domestic violence issues and such. And I very much understand that. But if you take those away, the beauty of parenting is that there's two people that are standing there offering two perspectives, and there's two people that are there bringing their strengths and their weaknesses together. And if one parent tries to do it on their own, all they get to bring is their strengths and their weaknesses. There isn't anything else to bring. And I think we forget sometimes what the other parent actually does provide.
If the parents can exercise and apply consistency in their approach to their time with the children, their responsibilities for the children, the decisions that they respectively and individually make for the children, and even in the way they've set up their home, each of them, for the children when the children are with them. Consistency is extremely important, and especially with younger children.
Well, if we're talking specifically about access plans, which we sometimes call visitation plans, the key thing is that there's many issues that parents need to consider. And they're not in any particular order, although the first one I hold in top priority, and that is that they need to make sure whatever plan they choose, whatever visitation, whatever access they choose, the primary thing is that it's age appropriate. Our goal is to make sure that the plan fits the age range. So that would probably be top priority. A second issue would be to make sure that the plan is logistically feasible. And by that I mean we have to look at where the parents work and what hours they work, what hours the children are in school, how far apart the parents live, whether daycare is nearby. So we have to look at what's logistically feasible. The third thing I often look at is parental capability. There are some people who are better parents than others, and some parents just seem to be natural at parenting. So we have to look at the capability of each. Obviously, there are some children more attached to mom and some children more attached to dad, and so we have to look at that bond and attachment. There are some parents, for example, that might use drugs. There are some parents who, for example, might have physical disabilities that might impair their parenting, so we have to look at that as well. Another issue I definitely look at is parental cooperation, because oftentimes if the parents can't cooperate, the transitions probably need to be at a neutral place like school or daycare so the child will not feel that tension, because it certainly is contagious. So we try and avoid face-to-face contact between the parents. Our goal here is to have the child flourish rather than just tolerate a plan. So one plan that is especially helpful would be what we call the split week. And this is where one parent has from Sunday through Wednesday, and the other parent has Wednesday, probably after school, until Saturday night or Sunday morning. The advantage to this plan, as you can see, is that it's 3.5 days with each parent, and most children, even young children, can tolerate 3.5 days away from either parent. It is equal, and so most parents see this as fair. Children absolutely love this plan, especially from the ages of 5 or 6, or even a little younger, until 10 or 12. And the reason for that is because they have one, what children call stay-home day with mom, and one stay-home day with dad on the weekends. They feel rejuvenated by this. They seem to enjoy having the consistency of certain days with each parent. And parents seem to like it because they then can have their own lives. The only disadvantage I hear regularly, and only from parents, by the way, children never mention this, is that there is not a full weekend with either parent. But the school year, this is probably a very ideal plan for the younger elementary age child. Another option is what we call a 5-2-2-5 plan. And the reason it's called that is because one parent consistently has the children every Monday and Tuesday. The other parent has Wednesday and Thursday, and then you alternate weekends. Again, this is referring to an equal access plan. This plan is probably the best plan for elementary school children all the way through high school, but for parents who have a lot of parental tension and lack of cooperation, all the exchanges are done at school or the daycare. So the parent who has Monday and Tuesday would drop the children off Wednesday at school. And the parent who has Wednesday and Thursday would drop the children off Friday morning at school, thus making all the transitions done at school or daycare. The child then does not have to see the parents in face-to-face combat, and it's usually very appealing for that aspect of a child's peace and tranquility. It does allow for full weekend access, so many parents enjoy this plan because they do want full days and full weekends with their children. The downside I often have to point out to parents, though, is that there's 5 straight days with one parent. And this may be difficult, especially for younger children. So children under 5, or even 5, sometimes even 6, have a difficult time being away from a primary parent for 5 days. Another plan is the traditional alternating weeks, where one parent has 1 week and the other parent has the next week, and so forth in that pattern. An advantage to this plan is that the child can settle in at each household. But the major difference or disadvantage of this plan is that there's no consistency. If 1 week the child is at dad's and the next week the child is at mom's, mom may not endorse some of the activities that dad has enrolled the child in. So if dad enrolls the child in karate on Monday nights, mom may not endorse or enforce that activity during her weeks, which then works to the child's disadvantage. Another disadvantage many parents point out to me is that it's very difficult for them to plan their lives. The other main disadvantage for children is oftentimes 7 days is much too long to go with one parent and not see the other parent. Children will say that after a few days they start missing the other parent. The traditional guideline access that we have, which is every other weekend and a midweek visit, is sometimes acceptable. And this is where the child would be with one parent, with each parent every other weekend. The midweek sometimes is overnight. One of the things we have to watch out for in this plan is that the midweek is often defined as Wednesday night. So that in every other week, if you looked at the plan, you'll see that on Tuesday the child is sleeping at one parent's house, Wednesday at the other parent's house, Thursday back to the original parent's house, and Friday back to the other parent. So there's a ping-pong ball effect here that some children really don't do well with. In those cases, I suggest that the midweek not be overnight, so that the child, in essence, is sleeping in the same bed for a few nights in a row. Another option for that, of course, is to extend the weekend, and rather than have it start on Friday and end on Sunday, to have it overnight till Monday morning. An advantage to that is that that parent then does have the experience of taking the child to school, and the consistency is beneficial for every child of every age. Another plan is a plan where, especially when the children are very young, preschool age, is a plan whereby one parent, if he or she is not working, actually cares for the child during the day. And then when the other parent is off work, that parent picks up the child and has evening hours and overnights. And then they can alternate the weekends or even split the weekends. And that works out well for children who are not in school and where one parent is not working outside the home. On the issue of holidays, oftentimes it's best to just look at the list of holidays that the parents either choose to participate in or want the children to participate in, and it does not have to be one specific method for all the holidays. The first one is where you actually share or split the day. For example, with Thanksgiving, one parent may choose to have every year from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and the other might choose to have from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Although many children will say that it's too fragmented. They don't want to leave one house to go to another house when they're having fun. Another option is to substitute. For one parent to say, Thanksgiving is not that important to me, but Easter is. So I would like to have Easter every year, and he or she can have Thanksgiving. Another thing to consider when you're talking about holidays or vacations or even the summer is to value the traditions that each family member may have. It's important to allow children to experience those traditions every year. So it's important for parents to look at traditions. Traditions are an important foundation of security, and since a divorce or a separation of the parents is occurring, what we need to do most is to allow for that foundation to be more secure rather than less secure. And it's important for the other parent not to sabotage the process. So to teach children that these are certain important days to be with the other parent, to accept that, to endorse it, and to not try and sabotage that process is a very important thing for parents to do.
There are parents that I know, and so many millions of parents out there that are not putting their kids first, that have not made a commitment. You cannot do it on your own. Parents need to have the support of professionals and of other parents who are going through this, and they need to do this for their kids so that their children can grow up to love, to trust, and be able to make commitments.
I will be the first one to tell you that it definitely affects the kids. And here that I'm 28 years old, I'm still affected. I got a lot of anger, sad a lot, and it's just not fair. You know, like I said, I feel cheated, and I think that people shouldn't do that. They should just listen to their kids and let them, if they want to see their father or their mother, let them go. Let them have fun, you know, make it work.